Tell me when it's ready. Okay, Israel. Great. The subject, the topic of this video is marriage, the institution of marriage. I'm going to be asking you a couple of questions. First of all, Israel, just get once again your name, your age, are you married, your occupation, and of course, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Just give me you're 63.
63. Okay, yeah. My name is Israel Abrams. I'm 63 years old. I've been married in December 1972, and I had 3 children, as I said earlier.
Wonderful. And you worked at you were a manager.
Yeah, I was a manager at the textiles company, but not at the present. It was later in the years. And then, I married my wife. We fell in love, but usually
just wait for me. Okay. Sorry, I just want to. Great. You are married at the moment?
I am, yeah.
Are you happy in your marriage?
Yes.
Very happy with your wife? How long have you been married?
42 years.
42 years, wow, that's a long time. Why did you get married? Wasn't it arranged marriage? It was a marriage for love?
It was a marriage for love, but most of the Indian people, now that we are settled in South Africa, we fall in love and we marry whom we want to marry. But in India, it's not so. You got to have an arranged marriage.
How was your marriage? Was it arranged? No.
No, it wasn't arranged. I found my own wife and she found me.
Where did you find her?
We were both living in Clarewood.
Okay.
We were both living in Clarewood. And then we both had a Hindu wedding. We're from Hinduism.
Okay.
And then later in 1978, we turned to Christ. We became Christians.
Both of you are Christians?
Both of us are Christians, okay. That's right. So marriage was instituted in the Garden of Eden. And marriage is between a man and a woman, which is ordained of God.
If you went back, you marry this lady again, without question. You look back on your life.
Yeah, I would.
Would you marry again? You're obviously in love.
I would.
Are people supposed to marry today, or is this just tied to? Now, I don't want to get into the religious question on this. I just want to know: Are we supposed to marry, or does religion, Christ, is this something that is forced upon us by God?
Yeah, for the
your opinion.
Yeah, God ordained marriage that He said, "Be married and multiply for the." I'm trying to get a word here. For the propagation, not. Is it the propagation?
Propagation of people.
Of people, yeah, to fill the earth. So God expects a man to marry. Even Apostle Paul said that it's good for man not to marry. You can be like me, because Apostle Paul was a single person.
Can you be single?
Yeah, you can.
It's not a problem being.
No, it's not a problem. But if you burn, if you lust, then you must marry.
Okay, so if you lust, if you're feeling that way. Are people happily married today? Or do they just make up, pretend they're married, they're happy?
Well,
do people live today together and pretend to be happy and they're not?
No, they're not. Majority of them.
Are not happy?
No, not happy.
Can you explain to me the reasons why?
Because what happened is that we do, especially for a couple that's getting married, they need to go through a lot of counseling.
Okay, carry on.
A lot of marriage counseling, and they need to know about life. Now, what happened is today, we are 20, 21 years old and getting married. We never even taste better part of the life. So when we get into this marriage, and now that you don't want to be questioned, you can't go alone anywhere you want to go, and everything is about your wife now.
Does this affect marriage?
It does affect the marriage.
So what you're saying is, and if I'm correct, you shouldn't marry so young because people change.
They do change.
Wait until you're older to marry.
Yeah, the older.
Do people get married young?
Yeah, they do.
A lot getting married young?
There are a lot of them getting married young.
And a lot of them, would you say, are unhappily married today as older people?
Yeah, if you look at the divorce rates here, if you look at our parents those days with arranged marriages, it was very good. There were hardly anyone getting divorced.
But were they happy?
They were happily married.
Can you be happy? Can you be in love with somebody that's arranged?
Our parents were poor. There wasn't demanding. The wife wasn't demanding this and the other, and even the husband wasn't demanding. They earned a little bit. They had a lot of children, and they were quite happy, Okay. And there was, every marriage has problems. You know, every marriage has problems.
Okay.
But the Bible clearly states that husband, love your wives. So God ordained it that a wife should submit to her husband in every way. Now, the husband can't tell the wife, listen, I want you to go have to go be a prostitute or to have a drink or to smoke drugs with me. No, no, that's out. She doesn't have to listen to that nonsense. But she must submit to her husband for protection. Because in the Garden of Eden, she listened to Satan and she fell under the trap of the enemy.
Can I ask you this question? So what I'm hearing, and just get me right, I'm not trying to put words in you. Are you saying that the wife must be submissive to the husband? The husband is the dominant person.
Yeah, he's the head of the home.
He's the head of the home.
Yeah, he's the priest, he's the prophet, and the head of the home.
Where
I'm talking
do you
about
get
the
that
Christian.
from? Where does that come from?
From the Bible.
Is that from the Bible?
Yeah.
Is it possible that is the Bible correct in that?
Yeah, it is, because to protect the woman. To protect the woman and the family. You see. He must love his wife. He's got to love his wife. The Bible clearly says it. If a man doesn't love his wife, his prayers won't be answered.
Okay.
That's how serious matter
Do a lot
is.
of men are there men that don't love their wives?
No, not of them. Not of them. But
Even Christian men?
Even Christians.
And how do they have adult, are they adult? Can they have other women, or do they just divorce?
No.
How do they work? How do they get around it?
No, there's only one ground for divorce. Only one. It's adultery.
Okay.
Adultery. And if you marry a woman that committed fornication is sex before marriage.
Okay.
And if you as the husband found out that this lady that you married never told you that she wasn't a virgin, you had a ground for divorce. But you can still forgive her and redeem her.
So you can marry somebody, if I'm correct. Your feelings on this is you can't marry somebody that's had sex before you marry.
Yeah, unless they tell you.
Unless they tell you.
Yeah,
they have to tell you that they.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. You can forgive them. You can redeem them. You know, you can buying them back.
But how are your feelings on this? Your personal feelings. I know.
No,
It's tied to religions.
Yeah, they've got to be honesty.
But your personal feelings, if you were to say, let's just put it this way, let's go this way. Say there wasn't any religion or God.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I know, but people getting married today and living forever that aren't happy, should they get divorced? Or should they just live together for the sake of the kids?
Yeah, that's what usually happens, you know, but they're living in misery.
They're living in misery.
They're living in misery and they're only staying there for the kids.
Is that right? Is it correct to live in misery for that? Say you made those wrong choices.
Yeah, it's a hard question. Because
it's a hard question. The Bible says you must live together. The only grounds for his divorce is adultery. But what happens when a person makes a mistake when they're very young and they're living now in misery? Must they have now an unhappy life for the rest of their life?
You see, you can't take you can go to the church, your temples, your priest, whatever, you know. Try and get counseling and try and sort this marriage out.
And if you can't?
There's got to be love and forgiveness. There's two things we got to work in.
That's another question I wanted to ask. And another question I want to ask you, and I know I'm jumping around because of time. Can a person be in love with two or more people at the same time? Can you love your wife and another woman?
No.
Is it possible as a human to do as a human being? I'm not saying the laws of Christ and God. I'm talking about it. Is it possible to love two people at the same time?
No, you can't. You can't.
Is it better to be single?
Well, depends. Depends, John. You know, if you're okay, look at me now, right?
Yes, carry on.
If I was a Christian and I met my wife, you know, if I was a Christian and if I knew the Lord had called me into missions and prisons and traveling all over, I wouldn't have married because of the gospel. Because I know that I'm going to neglect this woman, neglect my children. You see, if my calling was genuine, you know, that I should go away from home and all that. Even Apostle Paul said, listen, why don't be like me, you know? But only thing, if you burn and you lust, marry. But you can only love one woman. And you can only marry one woman.
Right. Israel, I'm going to ask you one more. I'm going to ask you another question. Fantastic. You answered those nice and clearly. Obviously, your thoughts on adultery is no good. but this does happen. Let me just see what else I have here. Many divorces occur between the ages of 40 and 50, and maybe early 60s, because of what they call this midlife crisis. Is this a cause of a person, of people deciding that they married too young, and they now have realized that they've changed their ways? Does a person get wiser when they get older? Would you say they get wiser? No. Oh, yes.
Or maybe they got regrets. I don't know. You know, like regrets. You know what? I shouldn't have done this. Shouldn't have done that. And sometimes jokingly, we do tell a young man, "Hey, listen, don't marry because you don't know what you're getting into." Okay. But it's wrong. You know, we just joke. We shouldn't do that. But we joke about it.
Have you ever, as a married man, you don't lust after? I mean, you've never felt a feeling for another woman besides your wife.
We are men.
So explain this to me.
You know, like once...
If you see a pretty woman, would you...
Okay, I'll share with you. In the apartheid era once, I was sitting in the licensing office, and there was a beautiful white girl came in front. Now, we couldn't take a chance to even greet. But what happened was that I'm sitting and I'm thinking there, I said, Lord, you know, if anybody asked me, why am I looking at this white girl, I would tell them, all I'm doing is admiring my rib.
Okay, your rib.
Yeah, because God took a rib out of bed.
Were you single at the time? Were you married?
Married? I can't remember. Single. I think I was...
were you married?
Married, licensed. No, I was married.
You were married. And you felt that feeling?
Yeah, I am. Is that
natural for a man?
That's natural. That's natural. That's even for a woman too.
And I feel sometimes, you know, when you talk about it, because I know a lot of people bring religion into this, and I, as far as I know in the Bible and what I've read in the Bible, that even to think that it's like
I was sharing Sunday.
Is that correct?
I was sharing Sunday in church. Can I just share?
Yeah, please. Yes.
The 10 Commandments says that thou shalt do no murder. Then that's the Old Testament, 10 Commandments. Now we say by grace and truth through Jesus Christ. But what Jesus says now, if you hate your brother in your heart, you are a murderer. Now he stretches it. Then he goes to say, thou shalt not commit adultery in the 10 Commandments in the Old Testament, Old Covenant. But now Jesus says, if you look to the woman in your and lust in your heart for her, you have committed adultery.
Already.
That's already.
So how do we control that? Is there a way to control it?
Oh, we can just confess our sins. I mean, we're not perfect. That's
it looks like, you know, and I'm observing this, it looks like to actually be a good Christian is a lot of work. And
yeah, it's not a work. It's a narrow road. You get two roads.
It seems like
the narrow road and the broad road. You know, Christianity is not easy. It's not easy.
One more thing before we finish, just to tie everything up. Anything else that you would like to share with the viewers on marriage? Any tips or advice? You've been married a long time. You love your wife. Is there, how many years now? 40?
42 years.
Is there anything you would like to share with the viewers on how to stay married?
Don't have your quarrels in front of your children.
Don't have your
quarrels, your arguments.
Carry on.
If you have anything to say, go into your closet and sort your problems out there. And if you feel that you can't handle it, get some spiritual help. Because now that you got children, and a divorce will cause it'll really break those kids. It'll break them up badly, and it's something that will affect them. So, and men, love your wives. Love your wives. They are a weaker vessel. And women, submit to your husbands. If he's submit to them. Like I told you that he can't tell you to go do anything wrong. That you can't submit to. But being a housewife or a working woman and be obedient. Well, for a Christian, if you follow the principles of Christianity, you will see in the book of Ephesians that husband, love your wives. If you don't love your wife, God won't even answer your prayer. Believe me.
Thank you.
So love your wife, love your children, and love your husbands. And because now we come out of two different backgrounds, you know. We don't know what your family life was, like a parent's life. We don't know what his parents' life was, you know. So what happened is that we're bringing the both together here from two different backgrounds, two different lifestyles, you know. And but my advice to you is that before you marry, pray. pray and ask your God to send somebody that's worthy of you, and tell God what you're looking for in a man. Tell him.
Wonderful. Thank you, Israel.
God bless you.
Won't you just press the red button there for me?
I must come
Yeah,
down
just
to
go down there and just make sure it's on there and just press it for me. Thank you.